So I'm feeding my baby, and I figure this is a really good time for me to talk about why it's so wonderful to have children. Now, I definitely did not think that I was going to be a mom because I had PCOS, and I've talked about this. If you watch my other videos, I talk about how I had polycystic ovarian syndrome. Polycystic ovarian syndrome. I'm trying to speak a little bit slower. And I was told that it would be very difficult for me to have kids. I did not get my period consistently for years. I didn't know, if I just could have kids. And so I just settled on being a really cool aunt. Plus, combining that with the family world that we have now, where a lot of families are broken, especially in my community. My family's from the South. I'm Black, like a lot of my the families around me are not together. And combining that with what happened in my family where my mother went missing and my father wasn't around growing up, I love him to death now. But that's because he had a family where his father wasn't around. And his mother kicked him out when he was 15. And so he was learning to deal with that stuff when he had us at like 23, 22. That's not a lot of time to deal with that stuff. And then my grandparents were so much older than me that they didn't instill in me like the importance of family. Our family was just like really was just highly dysfunctional in many ways. Everybody was loving, but everyone was just trying to do their best, and sometimes it fell short for what was the ideal path. But there's no ideal path. Every parent does their best. But anyways, I did not understand the importance of having children. I didn't understand that God wants us to have kids, even though I just look at the planet and I'm like, well, how does the planet regenerate itself? How do we get more people on the planet? Well, we have to have kids here. And how do we do that? By people coming together to decide they want to have kids. Hopefully these are consensual experiences. But this is not for everybody, this video, by the way. It's not for everybody, because some people might say, like, well, what if I want to have kids? Well, if you don't have kids, that's totally fine. This is for people who want to understand, like, my story of, like, why having children has become so important to me. So once I start to heal different things and I start to see the value of family, this was first of all when I started to understand like having a very good partner, which I have. I'm super happy, people, and I'm like so in love. And just even the times where it's hard, I wouldn't want to have any of those times back because we've grown so much. And I had a serendipitous like love at first sight story. And so once you have that and you see the stability of a partner, and you've seen, because my grandparents who raised me died. They all died in a very short amount of time. My mother went missing. My father's heart tore in half. Like seeing these things made me realize like the importance of family, because I had lost a lot of my family. And now the only people I have in my family that are close to me, my father survived and my sister. Like that's really it. Like I don't have, and I'm not even like, I could talk about my siblings, but I don't want to. But I don't really have the people that like raised me. I don't have a community around me. Like I don't have people to like watch her from my side of the family. But then when I met him, he had all those things. And so he provides me that family. And other side of that is I see how his family is all lovey-dovey with each other and how they value children so much. And it's because children are a blessing. But it's also seeing when you have this amazing person in your life that you love, you want to create life with them. It's just like, and maybe not for everybody, because some people don't want to do that. And I want to really acknowledge that, because not everybody wants kids, not everybody needs to have children, not everybody can. But many people, and I would dare say most, want to have children with their person, because when you have sex and you're not using condoms or preservatives or any of that stuff, preservativos is how you say condom in Spanish. See, I'm English is my first language, but I'm learning Spanish so much that I'm confusing a lot of my words. When you're not using contraception, that's that word I was looking for. You're going to get pregnant with your partner if you can do that. And most women and most men who are in healthy relationships are happy to have a baby. Because what is a baby? It is a culmination of two people who are in love coming together. And you both are sharing your bloodline. Be quiet, Potts. Be quiet. You're sharing, this beautiful child that you both have created that has both of your personalities and things. And of course, a lot of this is my perspective, but I've also talked to so many people that I know personally and that I don't know because I was a social worker that have told me the same thing. And they say it's just beautiful. And also having children makes your life, it puts things into perspective. I have a different perspective on life because I know that life is short because my mother disappeared off the face of the planet, but also because I had a miscarriage and I wanted to have a baby. But having a baby now, she's 12 weeks, has made me very intolerant to things that are not in line with my lifestyle that I ideally desire. My patience levels are very low. I used to tolerate conversations where people were just talking about nothing, and now it's like I don't really want to be a part of those conversations. We're either going to talk about something that matters or we're not. You're either going to stick up for things that matter or you're not. And if not, I'm out because I don't have the energy for that. Because I don't want my child, because your child, at least for me, because I always want to say at least for me, because everyone's perspective is different, everyone's story is different, and I really want to honor other people's stories because everyone's path is different. What God has for you is not the same for me. And we're all born into different scenarios and all these different things. So I want to be very aware of that. But at least for me, my child has made me accountable to myself, because if I am, for example, let me give you an example. When your child's learning to speak and learning to smile, all these different things, a lot of these cues they get from you. They learn your voice, they listen, they look at your face and smile because they're repeating the things that you're doing. I don't want to pass down to my child these reckless ways or these inconsistent ways or these, ways that I've compromised myself just for having people around. I don't want my child to have, I don't want my child to see me doing these things and think it's all right. So it holds you to a different standard of living. Like having my child has made me a stronger person, not just physically, because we're able to birth children and then get a child cut out of you after you want to have a vaginal birth. And then you go through like the pain of that, but then you also breastfeed. I mean, it's just amazing the strength that you have when you're a mom, like when you're birthing a baby. And I really wanted to have a vaginal delivery, but it wasn't possible. It was possible, but it was very hard because we live in this country that's just so bound to run C-sections. Anyways, that's a whole other conversation. I still can't find that video that I made of that, my C-section story. Maybe I do have it. I'll try to record it. But having my daughter has made me accountable to myself. It's brought me closer to God. It's brought me closer to my, it's brought me closer to her dad. It's brought me closer to our, in our marriage. It's just brought us closer. And it's so interesting because when I first met her father, he told me like, why don't you want to have kids? Why don't you have kids? It's going to change your life. It makes you like so great. And I didn't understand that because I didn't think I could have kids. And then once she started to get about 2.5 months, she started to smile and like recognize different things. And I was just like, wow, just so amazed. And I was thinking like, I have this little human that I get to take care of, and that's teaching me how to take care of myself so I can better take care of her, and how to be more responsible, and like keeping me in check with different conversations. So like when I went after she got her shots, I was able to go about a little bit more, and I started to listen to conversations, and I was like, why am I tolerating this? Why did I tolerate this in the past? Did I tolerate people who were just talking about stuff just to be talking about stuff? Did I tolerate people who didn't respect each other because I wanted community? Like, and it just like made, like, I can't think of anything else that made me accountable to this. It wasn't because I was tired, because at this point I was getting enough sleep to be able to understand the difference between like, am I tired? I'm irritable. I'm not listening to this because I'm tired and irritable, or am I just tired and irritable because I don't want to listen to this? And I know it's because I didn't want to listen to it, because I only have so much time in the day and so much energy. And I don't have the energy to be a part of conversations or communities that don't help me to rise as a person emotionally, intellectually, and as a mom. I want my daughter to be able to see, and my future children, because we do plan to have more kids. And that's another thing. Like, I never thought I would want to have a lot of kids. Now I just want to have a lot of babies, just by what's happening in the world, because kids are so great. And also because I'm going to upload this video, but the first thing I want to say is that when you get older, the only people who are going to want to see you the most are your children, especially if you've been good to them, and your good friends. But all your good friends and stuff, they have the other stuff going on. Your children, if you've raised them right to be, and they want to be around you, meaning that they love you and they want to be around you and they want to come home for the holidays. And it doesn't mean they don't have their own lives, but it means that like, when you get older, and I've seen this with every single elderly person whose their kids have loved on them, their kids come back. I've celebrated 100. I was asked to help coordinate this 100-year-old's birthday. His kids came from out of town from everywhere, and the wife had died. That's another thing. Like when your wife dies or when the spouse dies, Your kids are the ones who are going to be there with you. And it's beautiful because it's like, if it's with the person, and this is not the case for everybody, but especially if it's with the person with your spouse, your kids are going to be like so happy because they have those literal biological memories of their parents. And of course, there are times where your parent is not the biological parent, but I'm just talking about like this from my perspective, because like, my husband, her dad is like her dad. And it's beautiful that I could think about, for example, if I die before my husband, she'll think about her dad and she can like think that she looks like her dad, or vice versa. If did I say that wrong? But anyways, if one of us dies, like our baby can be like, wow, I look like this parent and I have their blood in me, and like, yeah, and we can be like, yes, you have literally the genes of your father in you, or you have what's instilled. If it's not biological, you have what's instilled from your father in you, or your mother, or whoever. And I just find that so beautiful. But back to like the kids thing, I could say so much about this. I'm so passionate about families and relationships. That's why I studied it in social work and I got really into it. I was very resistant to families at that time and relationships, even though I studied it very well and I was very good at it, because I knew deep down that that's what I wanted. I just wasn't ready to admit to it yet. Having kids allows you to be young again. Like with my baby, I get to like sit on the floor and be like, do you see that? Oh, like you don't get to do that with anybody else. And your kids just love you. Like every morning, my daughter wakes up happy to see me. There's no other human on the planet. I mean, my husband's always happy to see me too, but your babies don't have the same cares of the world yet. So you're their whole world. Like my husband has stuff that he thinks about. Like, so if he doesn't spend some time like in prayer or like doing something that he enjoys, like this is normal. If you don't spend time doing things, sometimes you can wake up in a bad mood. And it's not that you aren't happy to see your partner, but you're stressed about something else, or you're thinking about something, or you're woken up suddenly. No matter what, even if babies are woken up suddenly, they still are looking for their parents. They still want to see you. And I just find that so incredible and so beautiful that even after their tantrum, which she doesn't really have any tantrums, only if she's like, the only problem we've had with our daughter, to be very honest with you, is because I prayed really hard for a calm baby. I was like, I want a calm baby. She just had problems pooping because babies have to learn how to poop. And then also we had some formula issues because I had to stop breastfeeding, but now I'm getting back to that. So breastfeeding is hard, y'all. Like getting up in the middle of the night is very challenging when you're a new mom and you just had a C-section, or if you had any sort of thing where you've been in pain, or just getting up like to wake up to feed someone else every few hours is very challenging. But they just love you. Like babies, your kids just love you unconditionally, and all they want is your love. There's no other being that will do that. There's no other being that's going to be like, if you're a good parent, and whether you're a good parent or not, children still want your love. But especially if you're a good parent, there's no other being that wants to see you every day and wants to hang out with you and wants to wake up and smile. Like now that she's able to smile and she's like at that stage, every morning she wakes up. Like this morning, it was so beautiful. So usually I wake up after like to do her last feed before my husband goes to work at like 4 or 5. It's been a little bit, now it's been between 5 and 6, but usually I get up at like, no, this morning we got up at like 4:30. No, 4:41. Hey. She's smiling right now. 4:30 maybe. Anyways, the time is irrelevant. And it was like an hour before. And I fed her a bottle, and then I like didn't cook dinner yesterday. So I like to cook dinner early in the morning, and like cook food for the morning so that for the day, for my husband when he goes to work, and for myself, because as the day goes by, I just like feel that it's good to have food ready. And usually I like to have food ready, just even for myself, like before I had him. It's just nice to have food in the fridge, and I just didn't cook anything because I cooked a lot the night before, and we had a lot and we just ran out. So anyways, I got up early, talked to God, had my prayer time. I read my Jesus Calling, and I like speak to God and like just have my moments of gratitude. I'm trying to do that every morning. I've been very consistent, but I'm trying to do it more. And she was just sitting in her rocker, and she was just smiling at me, and she was so happy just to see me cooking. What other human is going to do that for you? Really and truly, like just looking at you with such admiration is like, and recognizes you and is like, that's my mom. Like maybe doesn't know intellectually, but knows that like, that's someone that's familiar to me and I love being around them. There's no other human being that's going to do that for you. And then my husband was like, can I sleep another hour? Because he wanted to get up very early, and I was thinking, like, you actually can sleep a little bit more. And he was like, yeah, I'd like to sleep another hour. He got up, and before his alarm went off, I turned off the alarm, and I went into the room, and I brought her in, and she was just so smile. She was like staring at him, and like he was under the cover, and I took the cover off, and she was like staring at him like this. And he's like, good morning, baby. Good morning, my princess. And she's like, ah, like just so happy to see him. It's just such a special thing. Like it bonds you to your partner, but it's like there's no other being besides a child that you get that experience with. Whether, and even if you're a godmother or an aunt or a parent or whatever, it's not going to be the same as if you have your own child. And it's, hi, hi. I don't show her very much on camera because she's so young. But if you can see this, all she's doing is smiling because she just finished her bowel and she's so happy. But you can't put your hand in your mouth. No, you cannot. No, you cannot. It's just a wonderful experience, people. And like, sometimes I'm actually, no, like, I think hypothetically about like, if we had waited to have more money, like, would we have been in a different place, da da da. Like, but everything was provided for us. So I can't even like say bad things about it, but I would never want to be without my daughter. I would never want to be without her. She's just so amazing. Even the sleep deprivation and the, not knowing what to do, those things do pass. Are you gonna let me put this in your mouth or no? Like, cause you're like, do you see how she's fighting me now, people? Do you see how she's doing that? She wants to, like, I want her to finish this, but usually she drinks. So now she drinks about, we've gone through a lot of formulas, and I need to do a video on formulas. I think I did already, but this is about 5.5 ounces, and she usually would do like one 5.5 ounce, and then like another 3 or 4, and then she'll like, and it's almost night, like time for her to go to sleep. So I want her to drink a lot, and I'll know because her stomach is full. But it's just so amazing, people, like having this little baby, and everybody loves her like this. That's another thing. Like, I was at this Mixed Fit event, which is Mixed Fit is this like explosive hip hop dance format that I am certified in. But I went to the master class, and I wasn't going to go because I was so tired. And then she got up and she's like, no, I'm up. And I'm like, okay, well, we're going to go. We were a little bit late, but we still got an hour worth of the class. And I was just kind of dancing stuff. And everybody was like, what a beautiful, calm baby. Like, and it's so interesting that people don't want to have children, but then they see a baby and they're like, wow, how beautiful. And then it's like, it's, if the best way to create that beauty in your life is to have that for yourself. And not everybody wants to have kids. Again, not everybody can have kids, but if you can have children, and especially if you can have children with a person, because he just, that's the thing that like cheers you up when your man loves your child. And like, I can't even get into that. I get so emotional when I see it because I have such gratitude. It's so beautiful to me that I have that I have this beautiful family, because you hear so many stories of people who have kids and their partner is so terrible to the child. Like, I don't have that problem at all. And I'm just so grateful to God, because I never even like knew I could have kids. So I didn't pray for these things. Like, they came to me because God was like, I'm going to give you everything you want, all the desires of your heart. And he has. And I'm so grateful. Anyways, okay, get it together. It's not that I have a problem with crying. It's just that I don't want this video to be about sadness. It's about the beauty of kids. If you can have kids, do it, because it biologically keeps you going, and the kids keep you young. Like, people who have children and they raise them well, people talk about the stat of like people who have kids die younger. But actually, there's a statistic that says that when you have children and you're living for something other than yourself, the thing is, you have to think about this from, let me just give you like some science for a moment. So our neurons in our brain, like, we get new neural pathways, and we get that through understanding different things. And you see people who have dementia who their brains, and not just dementia, but people who get older and their brains are not stimulated, they die faster because they literally just sit. You see people in nursing homes who are not stimulated, what happens to them? They die. But the people whose brains are stimulated, they stay young, and especially because it's a new neural pathway. When you have a child, you're going back to these things that are joyful, like being around a child that laughs and smiles, and that you have to learn how to entertain them. It brings you back to good memories, so you live longer, and you live a more joyful life. And when I was in nursing homes, people died, and the people that would die usually didn't have kids or they weren't happy. But people who had kids visiting them, those are the people that lived, and they had a lot of children. Those are the people that lived hundreds of years to year 190. Joe, no, those are my cats. Those are the people that lived to be 90 or 100 or lived to be older, and they were happy. Not just living, but like happily living, thriving, still had their memory going, still were going, And I saw this with my grandfather because I was dedicated to my grandfather. He had 2 children. His daughter had 2 kids. One of them was me. And even when he had dementia, my grandmother, he doesn't remember a lot. I'm like, no, he'll remember if you keep him stimulated. And so I would stimulate him. I remember this one time we went to the zoo, and I kept asking him questions over and over and over and over again from my perspective as someone who was younger than him. And he remembered it for a while. That didn't happen a lot. And he remembered it for maybe 3 weeks or so. Because he's like, did we go to the zoo? And I was like, yeah, we did. And it just keeps you kids keep you young. They literally keep you alive. If you're a good parent and all that stuff, and your kids don't suck the life out of you like some kids do. Not every kid deserves a good parent. I will say that. There are some kids that are just, man. But for the most part, those stats are so minor. Having kids is a blessing. It's a literal blessing. And it's something that your body knows how to do. I'm just fascinated by pregnancy. So if you're thinking about having children, this is my video to tell you, please do it. Be responsible about it. Because also when you bring life into the world, you want to make sure they're taken care of. But what I mean is, please try to have kids with someone that is a good person. Even if you separate, that they're going to take care of your kids. That's the first thing. Please pray to God about the whole process. And thirdly, even though I say these things, know that it always kind of works out, because there's so many resources out there for you. Even if I didn't have an amazing husband that's going out and working while I'm not working, there's still so many resources out here. And fourth thing is, kids are just, they bring you so much joy. Hi. You gonna say hi? Yeah. They bring you so much joy. So have the babies if you want to have the babies. Oh, fifth, you're not going to live forever. So you can't do it all forever, especially you women. Yes, people are having kids into their 40s and 50s now. But the other thing is that you're not going to want to play on the ground with a kid when you're in your 40s and 50s as much. As much, unless you just become this bionic superhero that gets super fit and all these different things. But you have to think about even if you have a kid when you're 30 or if you have it, you have less time with your children in terms of their years the longer that you put off having kids. Meaning that, let me just give you an example. All right. So there are people who have had kids in their 50s, right? And then they live until about 80 or something. Your kid's going to be 35 when you die. That's relatively young for your kid to lose a parent. Compared to if you have a kid when you're in your 20s and your 30s, you have 70 something years with your kids if you live that long. So I'm just giving you some options and things to think about, for having kids. You don't have to agree with everything, but these are my perspectives. And I just love being a mom, because I was so against having kids, because I didn't know how I could have kids. And I found a video that I don't know how it even popped up on my feed. I think it was just a memory of me talking about kids. And I was like, wow, I really had that perspective. But my life has changed, and for the better. And I just love her. She's just the best. I just love her. Anyways, we got people coming over for dinner, so I need to work on these pork chops. And I did one half of the dinner. I just heard the rice cooker go off, because we do use a rice cooker. I like cooking rice in the big, cooking it normally, but the rice cooker is just a lot faster, especially when you have a baby and you have to wash the rice. And I'm very picky about rice, and I don't need as much as I thought. And then I'm making plantains, and I'm also making pork chops, and I'm gonna make a salad, so I gotta get the plantains going. Are you starting to sit up? That's another thing. You get to see your kids grow, and you get to be part of this process. She recently just started pushing up to sit up, and yesterday she did it without me, and I was like, this is gonna be a problem, because now I have this bouncy chair and I have to strap her in at the tighter one now. So anyways, it's not a problem. It's just beautiful seeing them grow, and you get to be part of that process. And having kids and being a good mom, being a present mom, because there's no perfect mom, but being there is one of the best things you can do for the planet. Because as someone with a social work background who talks to a lot of people and who's done therapy and talked to people in private, a lot of things go back to your childhood. And if you can be someone who brings great kids onto the planet and becomes an example for other children and for other, parents, it's a great, and probably the most important role for our planet. All right. I'm going to go. That's all I'm going to say. Bye-bye.